that time, people, the moment you have been waiting for all year, where we present the most prestigious award in all of the bike industry with twice the laurels of your average bike award. The most supple bike of the year award. This year I set the goal of trying to review really interesting bikes that the other bike media conglomerates would miss. Let's face it, even I am getting jaded of all the cookie cutter gravel bikes that are being released out in the market. Give me something fresh, give me something new. Don't just change the head tube angle by half a degree and then pat yourself on the back for being progressive. So for me, that meant more alt bikes, more interesting mashups, bikes that kind of push the norm of what everyone else was doing. Let me be clear, my definition of supple is always evolving. During the early years of giving out the most prestigious award in the bike industry, I was looking for the perfect all-rounder. So a bike that was quick and playful but didn't sacrifice utility, and we got those bikes. Past winners were the Breadwinner G-Road, the Ritchie Outback, and the Rivendell Sam Hilborn. This year, supple for me means doing something interesting, breaking the mold. A bike that was playful not only in how it rides, but in what it was trying to do. I'm going to start off with some honorable mentions, and then we'll name the most supple bike of the year. The first honorable mention, which admittedly is the most normie of all the bikes that I'm going to talk about tonight, is the Jamis Renegade, or the Renegade, depending on which part of the world you're from. That is a joke, people. That is a joke. While the geo numbers aren't mind-blowing, it does offer some interesting things under the hood which you might not notice. Namely, the bike has different fork offsets throughout the size run to keep the handling consistent. Why is this important? Well, most bike brands, when they design a bike, they use the same fork offset for the smallest bike all the way to the largest bike, and ultimately what they tweak is the head tube angle. So while this results in bikes that mostly fit without toe overlap, what it means is that the smallest bike rides radically different from all the other bikes in the lineup. This is a really nice touch in a production level bike, usually something you don't see very often unless you get a custom bike, and for that reason it is an honorable mention. The next honorable mention is the Marin Larkspur 2. It's got swept-back bars, it's got a step-through frame, and a dropper. Don't let its demure looks fool you. It's no typical Dutch commuter. First of all, it's got huge meats, much wider than your typical commuting tires. And looking at the geo numbers, it's actually closer to a mountain bike and rides as such. For me, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, a bike that is definitely more fun and capable than it looks. For sure, you can use it to poke around town, but you can also use it to hit some trails and ride some gravel roads, and for that reason, it's an honorable mention. The third and final honorable mention is the Tumbleweed Stargazer. If you're looking for a drop bar bike packing bike where you don't have to do a lot of aftermarket upgrades to make it tour worthy, then this is the bike for you. The handling on the bike was surprisingly neutral for a bike with such big wheels and tires. It climbed well without too much wheel flop, and had plenty of stability when you're going downhill. The ride was smooth and plush, and the OEM complete build, if you were lucky to get your hands on one, was perfect. Pre-installed, you get the Ratio Technology mods, so you get 12-speed mullet gearing and a modified left shifter to operate a dropper. Seriously, what else could you ask for? This year I rode a number of drop bar mountain bikes, and out of the entire bunch, the Tumbleweed was the only one that was appropriately geared. It's 2021. If you are putting road bike gearing on a drop bar mountain bike, you are doing it wrong. Because of the great OEM build and the surprisingly neutral handling, that is why the Tumbleweed Stargazer makes a list of honorable mentions. All right, time for the main event. Which bike will take the most prestigious award in all of the bike industry. Just like last year, this year is a tie again. I know some of you are going to think I'm copping out here, but these two bikes were just so interesting, such an interesting mashup, that they are the two bikes I've been constantly thinking about long after my review period of them has ended. The first co-winner of the most supple bike of 2021 is the Soma Buena Vista. That's right, a mixed, or mixty, depending on how pedantic you are. It's got dainty tubes and a step-through design, but don't let that fool you. Looking at the geo numbers and actually riding the bike, it rides a lot more like an actual road bike, which was a complete surprise. It is not your mama's mama Sherry. It's something altogether different. The handling was quick. I felt like it accelerated really well, climbed really well. If you totally want to sandbag a gravel event and turn a couple of heads while you're doing it, this is the bike to do it on. So I rode a couple of step-through frame designs this year, and I found that Buena Vista was, you know, I hate to sound like typical bike media, but laterally stiff. I didn't feel it flexing oddly. I could ride it no-handed without the bike being unpredictable because of some kind of lateral frame flex. It was just a quick, fun, and classy looking bike to ride. If you want an awesome looking cafe racer, bike commuter, or even tourer, which will also get some people scratching their heads, then this is it. And great job, Soma, and that is why it is tied for the most supple bike of 2021. Last bike, the most supple bike of 2021. What is it? It is the Cinder by Sharon Cycles. This bike is weird, but in a good way. Looking at the gravel bike market today, most of the differences are very incremental. A Trek or a Specialized will change something by half a degree and then pat themselves on the back. You know, amazeballs. The Cinder, in comparison, is a huge leap. It keeps a relatively short end and pairs it with a really slack head tube angle while lengthening the front center to run with a shorter stem. This kind of helps neutralize and negate all that wheel flop. And if that sounds a lot like a modern progressive mountain bike, well, that's because that's true. In many ways, it's very similar to what Evil did with the Chamois Hagar, but the Cinder dialed back the head tube angle just a little bit. And I think that makes it even more rideable when going uphill. You don't get that massive wheel flop in the front. Probably the most significant difference is that it's a custom bike and it's going to be custom to fit you. One of the really big challenges with bikes like this, where they're designed around a really short stem, is that there's not a lot of latitude for fit. So it either fits you or it doesn't ride as well as it's intended. It's a little bit of a crapshoot unless you get a custom bike. With the Sharon, that's not an issue since the bike is built around your fit numbers. You get a bike that's supremely stable, bombing down gravel roads or even some techie single track, while still being an able climber. The front end is a little Marmite. You do have to kind of adjust to it. If you like how low trail bikes handle or an endurance road bike, this is gonna take some adjustment. But if you give yourself time and adapt, it's fun. It's rewarding, and for me it really opened up my eyes to the kind of possibilities with gravel bike design. All the bikes mentioned in this video have their own full review. Be sure to check out the playlist if you want to see all the bikes I reviewed this year. It's been an amazing year of bikes, all things considered. It's also been an amazing year for the channel. We finally ticked over 100K, and it's just the beginning. We've got lots of fun things planned for next year. If you guys have been enjoying the channel and have found it educational, helpful, or at least a little bit entertaining, that's what I'm going for here, consider supporting the channel on Patreon. Again, all these bike reviews are completely unpaid. We do not do pay to play on this channel. If you appreciate that and you want to see the channel grow and continue and do more interesting things, join us on Patreon. Link is down below. And as always, keep the supple side down.